seasons in the decade. That's 4 more than Russell Wilson. Matt Ryan's had 4 losing seasons. Matt Ryan's had 2 seasons in his career, passer rating over 100. Russell Wilson's career passer rating is over 100. Russell Wilson is the best football player in the world today. He's not the tallest, doesn't have the best arm. IQ, leadership, playmaking. Russell Wilson literally does things we can't explain. 8 years. Why doesn't he ever get hit? Lamar Jackson's faster, gets hit. Carson Wentz, bigger, stronger, gets hit. Mahomes last year, gets hit. Russell Wilson does stuff nobody can explain. He never gets hit. He runs backwards, he runs sideways, he runs forward. He faces the Niners twice a year. He faces Aaron Donald twice a year. He never gets hit. Seattle now is one of 5 really elite franchises that seem to win every year. New England, Green Bay, the Saints, Baltimore. Pete Carroll had a losing record in Seattle. If Russell Wilson isn't drafted, Pete's not in the NFL, not in Seattle. He's now a legend. We're apart these days. We're sharing more, though. Geico's sharing more. Geico give back 15% credit car and motorcycle policies, both current and new customers. Geico.com. Get info, eligibility on the give back. Good to have you in. Rick Bucher's got a great article out. There's a lot of dispute whether KD and MJ could have played together. He's got some thoughts on that. He's talked to people around the NBA. So this is a sneaky big story. One of the reasons I do believe the NBA needs to come back is because the Lakers are good this year and the Celtics are good this year. And here's a story that helps the Lakers, actually. Bojan Bogdanovic, a 20-point-a-game scorer for the Utah Jazz, a sneaky good player for an offense that can struggle in Utah, for a very well-coached team and a very good defensive team and a very good team at home. He's out for the season. He's going to have a surgery. He'd been playing with discomfort. So he's one of the best three-point shooters. He's a 20-point-a-game scorer for this franchise, and LeBron was going to face Utah in the second round. So Utah would have been sneaky tough on the Lakers because they have a great rim protector, Rudy Gobert. He's a great, great rim protector. LeBron historically struggles at times against teams with great rim protectors. Why? Because LeBron loses confidence regularly in his jumper. And when he does, he just wants the ball, go to the basket and score. You just don't do that with Rudy Gobert. He's a block shot machine. And so now Bogdanovic is out. This offense was 17th in the NBA. That's with him. They can't win without him. They just don't have the offensive weaponry. And so now it's Clippers, Lakers in the Western Conference Final if the season returns. Denver's good, but depends too much on Jokic. They're still really, really young and haven't gone through the steps necessary to win a championship. So for those suggesting LeBron doesn't want the season to happen, wrong-o. It's now Lakers-Clippers. This is another roadblock out of the way. And again, Tillman Fertitta owns the Rockets yesterday, was talking to Donald Trump and says it looks like we're going to play. When you have opportunities to have a Yankee in the World Series, Dodgers-Yankees World Series, or a St. Louis Cardinals-Red Sox-Yankee World Series, where you have these legacy teams, or you have a chance to have, a USC and an Ohio State in a Rose Bowl. You don't get these very often. You think you'd get them more. I mean, you think LeBron and Kobe would have played in more championships, right? They were both kind of in their prime. You don't get as many great matchups, Phil Mickelson and Tiger, down the stretch at the Masters. They play together in their prime for 15 years. You'd think, you get that all the time. You don't. So when you get the Lakers with LeBron and the Celtics look like they'll get to the Eastern Conference Finals, you got to push it through. Sneaky big news for the Lakers. Bojan Bogdanovic is out, 20-point-a-game scorer. Great three-point shooter for a team that's got a hot and cold, not very good offense. Now it'll be really struggling to score. Joy with the news.
No.
Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News.
Phillip Rivers only signed a one-year deal with the Colts this offseason, but head coach Frank Reich is hoping that the Rivers will decide to stick around for longer than that. He said, "I really believe it's Phillip's intent to play multiple years. I'm very optimistic it will be a multiple-year thing." He has a one-year deal for $25 million. Chargers had a 5-11 record last year, 66% completion rates. 20 interceptions, 23 touchdowns. He's 38, entering his 17th season.
Yeah, what do you do when you like the GM, you like the coach, you think they've got good young personnel, but you feel like at a position that's getting increasingly athletic, you have the least athletic player in the league? And that's what he is right now. I mean, nothing against him, but he, outside of not counting kickers, that's the knock on Phillip is you can't roll the pocket out. You can't do anything athletic. It's like 1978 football.
I mean, he did not have a great year last year.
No, and I mean, the team is stacked. I mean, this should work for him because the offensive line's excellent. But, I was talking to a friend about this the other day, Joy. These sports all change with rules. The NBA used to be more physical because the rules allowed you to bang into guys.
Right.
And now the league's a shooter's league. The NFL used to be defense wins championships we grew up on. Not really. Not really. Kansas City wins championships. It used to be pocket quarterbacks win. The rules are changing it now. Do you want your quarterback at minimum to be Dak Prescott or Jimmy Garoppolo? At minimum, they can move a little.
Well, but I mean, he's 38 years old. Like that's not an unfair ask to be a little bit mobile. I don't even think that if you're 35 or 32 that's an unfair ask. The league is just getting younger. There's guys coming in who can play right away, who are winning MVPs in their second season in the league. That's incredible. Multiple quarterbacks. So, and it's not that you need Phillip Rivers to be able to run, the length of the football field, but the idea that he's going to be there for multiple years is, I thought he was going to retire this year. I was actually very surprised, even though I do think it's a good fit for him. I guess my bigger question for them is, what's their plan moving forward? Like, is it really Phillip Rivers?
No, it's Jacob Eason if he's as good as they think. That's really the plan.
So then I guess you may want him to be there for more than 1 year.
I just think there's a ceiling on it. I feel like the team that he left, the Chargers, has a ceiling, and the team that he came to because of Phillip, the Colts, has a ceiling. Doesn't mean they're not playoff teams, but I don't think they're Super Bowl teams.
But that's not your goal, is just to make the playoffs.
Mostly no. Unless you're like Jacksonville.
Right. So the Bills should have an easier road in the AFC East now that Tom Brady has left the division. And on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio, former Bills quarterback Jim Kelly thinks the pressure is on Buffalo to win it this year.
I mean, if they don't, then something's wrong. And Tom Brady is not there to block it anymore. So that, to me, is huge. I think, Tom, of course, is getting older, but he still can play. And I tried to talk him, into retirement like 2-3 years ago, but just wouldn't listen to me. I don't know why. But now that Brady's not in it, I definitely do think that the Bills are the team to beat.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you for having some perspective.
Well, they have the best roster, and they have
Bills.
we know they have the best. We think they have the best coach, and we know they have the best roster, and then we know they absolutely have the best defense by far.
Well, I mean, Belichick is still there.
Oh, you're right. You're right. He's the best coach.
But you would say he's the second best coach right now. Brian Flores and Adam Gase are still unproven. Although I feel better about Flores than I do about Adam Gase, but
they have a really good roster. They got a bunch of good players.
They're bringing everyone back. They should be the team to beat. This conversation about the Patriots is nonsense.
They've made the playoffs 2 of the last 3 years. Like, Buffalo's real now. Buffalo's a real team with a real coach and real players.
Although they haven't won the AFC since 1995.
Well, there's a reason for that. Tom Brady.
Finally, just like the rest of us, Aaron Rodgers enjoyed watching Michael Jordan's The Last Dance, his career during The Last Dance, and he reminisced about how he was an MJ fan and always looked up to him.
I was fortunate enough in 1998 to sit in the top row at Arco Arena and watch MJ's last game as a Bull in the regular season against the Sacramento Kings. And was always an MJ fan since the early 90s and loved the runs that he was on and always looked up to him. I've gotten to know him a little bit over the years and always enjoy our interactions and have a ton of respect for what he accomplished in the game. He's the greatest basketball player of all time. Really, I'd love to debate anybody on that.
I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Obviously, we don't have a professional sports team, and I was a Bulls fan like everyone else, like Aaron. And him talking about going to an MJ game, we didn't get to go to basketball games. But if we traveled, you know what I mean? That's not like an extra expense you're going to go to a game.
Right.
So we were in Detroit. My grandparents lived in Detroit. And somehow my dad got tickets to the Bulls game, took my little brother.
Oh.
Who was too young to even know what was going on. And they were all the way up in the peanut gallery. But still, I was like, seriously, you're going to take Noah?
No. Oh,
and there's no way he remembers going to that game. It hurts.
How old was Noah?
I mean, he was, I don't know. He was very young. He was probably 5 or 6. There's no way he remembers
What's the point?
Yeah. What's up?
You got dissed.
I did, but honestly, I'm with Aaron. It was such a great experience watching The Last Dance. Like it brings you, like it's more than just a trip down memory lane. It's much like music, right? Like that's the great thing about sports is that it brings you back to this specific time in your life and those experiences that you were having when you were watching that.
Yeah.
Like everyone remembers a certain Super Bowl their team was in and like where they watched the game and
I can remember
what was going on.
Being on a couch in Las Vegas, watching Suns Bulls with at the time like a girlfriend, and it was like a big deal.
Yeah,
she was a basketball player, and it was a big deal. Like it was a really exciting. We were like all geeked up for it.
Yeah, I think that's something else the documentary brought. Like it brought everyone back to like those moments.
Well, isn't that why you listen to like 70s and 80s music?
Yeah, it triggers you into like a
REO Speedwagon. Memory. I get emotional.
Well, I don't know about that.
That's funny. Joy Taylor with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
You know, it is funny. Jerry Krause is getting all sorts of heat. You know, Jerry Krause has passed away, and there's been this whole thing where Scottie Pippen, it's not fair how they treated him. And my takeaway is, no, I think Scottie was, the documentary said he was a great player, sometimes immature. That's totally Scottie. Great player, not a great leader. And people are banging, Jerry Krause. People say he's the villain in it. The reason, when somebody passes, you shouldn't say, mean things. They can't defend himself. The reason I think it's okay to be critical of Jerry Krause is he was antagonistic toward Michael. He was antagonistic toward Phil Jackson. So Jerry Reinsdorf yesterday was talking about Jerry Krause, and he tells a story.